Hello YouTube and welcome to this new web series where I'll be talking about poker. Used to play it a lot back in the day of Poker Stars back in 2006, but after all that DOJ stuff and the UIGA crap, it took a break, got a degree. But anyways, I saw Global Poker on Facebook and seemed easy to get money on there, so decided to put $50 on one weekend and just build that up and see where I go. So I'm waiting for a table here, and in the meantime I wanted to play a $10 table, so I jump on a $4 table. Important thing to remember in Omaha is bankroll management. It's huge with the variance, so generally you want to have at least 20 times your table limit. So if you're playing a $10 table, it's safe to have 200. So in this table I get dealt a pretty decent hand. I got connectors, a suited ace. I figure that's good for at least a limp in under the gun. Not too worried about this raise. And then this player's here 3-bets it, and I call it even though it's 8x the big blind, because again $4 is pretty manageable because of my bankroll management. You know, $4 nothing, easy peasy. 32 cents call this. This is basically a dream flop for me with the top pair, nut flush draw, gutter ball, and against the original raiser, you know, ooh, snap pots it. I feel pretty comfortable with my hand, so just shove it and make things easy going down the road, with a chance that she may fold for 72 cents, but probably not. So the other two fold. We're going to get all in situation here. You can see this run out is horrible for me. So the original raiser, who didn't even have a pair, ends up going runner for a straight, and I brick completely. The reason I showed that hand is because even though you might do completely the right things, bad runouts happen, so it's nice to have padding for the variance. That way it makes it a little easier when you lose. You don't go on tilt. So important to not play beyond your limits, especially as you're learning. So anyways, that was that hand. Alright guys, so I get on my $10 table here, just waiting for the big blind to be able to post in. And as we can see, I get ace-ace suited, which is pretty decent in Omaha. My position's really bad, so I don't want to go too crazy with the betting here, seeing that no one raised. So I just do a pretty standard raise of 3x or 4x the blinds, just to try to add value in case I do flop something. Omaha at this limit, you get some pretty loose players. So again, you don't want to go too crazy unless you can get to a heads-up situation, especially if you have position. As we can see, I completely missed the flop here, so I don't really want to bet into it with two people behind me. Because again, ace-ace in Omaha is simply just not really that good of a hand. You see a lot of people bet it way too strongly. We can see I tripped the 6 here. No one showed any action on the flop. So I figure betting out here is pretty safe with my trip 6s. These guys go to the tank for a little bit. Eventually they both end up folding. So this is a good example of being patient and waiting for a hand to develop before you do something with it. And then the very next hand I get ace-10, king-7, double suited. The diamond suit here isn't really that strong unless we can actually get the ace of diamonds on the board, because again with Omaha a lot of times you're straight betting the nuts and you can end up getting coolered quite a bit if you over evaluate your hands. I simply just limp here because again I don't want someone from behind over re-raising. That would make my hand pretty weak. Pretty much miss here. Ace-king, again, it's not even 2-pair. I could potentially develop something here pretty cheap as far as backdoor draws, so I go ahead and call the 50 cents thinking people were called behind. I do hit the diamond draw, which again it's not very strong since it's not the ace diamond draw, but it could develop into something else. The guy makes a really bad bet here after showing strength on the flop. With my double draws, because the 8 also makes me a straight, I called $1.40 here because I'm getting pretty good implied odds. He didn't even bet the pot. I do end up hitting the Broadway here, half pot it just for value to try to get a call. I guess a little more than half pot. No calls, but I do take down a pretty decent multi-way pot here. So first two hands up $6 on the session. Again, not a huge amount of money, but based on the limit I'm playing, just playing small. Managing bankroll again, like I said before. Not overextending myself, just trying to have a good leisurely game while steadily building up and potentially jumping limits after I do reach those next sustainability levels of 40 times the limit. So, for example, since the next limit is $20, 10 cents 20, you generally want to have, math is hard, 400 to 800 to make that jump in your bankroll to be able to comfortably adjust with bets that people make. And in the meantime, I'm just working on my computer on other things. Got one table up, very manageable to do and multitask there. So again, don't get too greedy if you're playing the game, and wait for good spots, be patient. Let's see here. I got a pretty connected hand. Let's see if I do anything interesting with it. Just call. I mean, I'm in late position. I probably could bet and just play it a little harder. Maybe should have done that, but the table seemed pretty loose. Top pair, open ender here. I'd probably bet. Let's see. Wait it out a little bit. No one's showing strength or anything, so I should bet here. It's a good semi bluff. The majority of the time, you'll just take it down. So as you can see, I do bet here. Not full pot, since I'm not really that strong. Just enough to show people I'm interested in the hand and actually have something. So I get one call. This board pair, it's not really good for me in case he has the jack, but in a heads up pot here, I already showed strength. I'm just going to keep firing out bets here. So he did call, so he might have had jack something. I don't want to get too greedy here. Just check it with the straight, because if I do try to go value and get a re-raise by the boat, it's a horrible situation. More often than not, he's not going to call anything that's not beating that straight there. So better just check down in that situation and play the position. So it's been about 10 minutes since anything interesting has happened. Just calling small bets here and there, not having much develop or just trying to take down blinds. Here I get a very connected hand in position with a suited 9. Again, if it's not a suited ace, it's not really that strong. But again, we're going to play the position here. So fire out a pot bet, build up the pot so we can make bets a little stronger on the other streets. It's important to do that to be able to build up pots when we do finally get these hands, to make these hands pay out for us. I don't really connect with this too good. A jack gives me the weak straight. The 6 gives me the nut straight. Hearts is kind of dangerous, but because they both check pretty quickly, I'm going to keep showing strength here and trying to make something develop or potentially just take it down right here. A good thing in Omaha is to bet out to get people to put you on different hands than you normally have. You want to have a loose, aggressive range if the table's playing pretty tight, so that way people can't really put you on hands too easily, and they can respect these bets and potentially pay you off when you hit something that they don't think that you would raise with. So again, I fire out here because I do get that backdoor club draw. At this point in time, it's usually if the club falls on the river, it's a good hand. And you can see she thinks a little bit and then folds. So I get like $1 or $2 there. Not that much, but in terms of the multiplier of the big blinds, it's still a decent hand considering I didn't really have anything. Pretty much just reading the position, waiting to make a Alright, so we're back, and we got a suited ace connected hand on the button. Again, this is where I like to be. These are the kind of hands I like to see and wait for, especially at these smaller limit tables where I can be strong and react instead of just potentially shoving against someone who ends up getting really lucky with a bad draw. So we make it the pot here, try to build some value. I think I get 2 calls. Maybe. You get a call? You get a call? Come on, call. You know you want to. Even if she doesn't call, I guess I'm still heads up, and I got position, and I could probably just bet this guy out on the flop, maybe if it's completely random. But I do get the call. This board shows me nothing at all. He's doing some weak bets. Based on his stack size, I probably can't bluff him out of the pot. So I may just call it because it's only 10 cents into a $1.50 pot, and there's potential backdoor draws with the Broadway and the hearts. So I do call it 10 cents. There's another queen here. It's kind of a weird card, especially since the action flop Z could have a queen. Didn't feel strong enough betting it. She might bet it now. There's a check. I just check. And here I hit the check fold button because I don't have a pair. Don't really think I can bluff here since I hadn't shown any strength before. The point of this hand anyways is to basically show that even though you do have position, you don't always have to try to push people out of pots, especially if it's a $1.50 pot and the guy only has $2. He might be tempted to just call it down anyways, especially at such a low limit. So you really have to evaluate the situation. And then we go right into a king, king, jack, 7 hand. It's semi-connected, not really, but we do have the suits too, where we could potentially get the ace of spades on the board, or just use our position to determine if we hit a flush, if it's good enough. So I think this ends up being a straightened out board with the spade draw, if we ever get there, because people are slow. I don't know if it's good to just like fast forward through these kind of stally parts or just let them play out. Anyways, be entertained. Just kind of kidding. So yeah, straightened out board. Pretty far off of a straight. Like if I had 10 jack here, that doesn't really help. 7-10 with the spades, I may be a little more tempted to call. And since it is connected, there's no point in really drawing to a set. This guy bets pretty strong, instantly pots out. I'm in a bad position where even though I'm in position, I don't know if these people behind me are going to end up calling to give me value on the flush draw. And even if they do give me value, I might be drawing just to a dead flush. It's easier just kind of to fold out. So the moral here is don't get too hung up on your hands, especially if it seems like you're drawing pretty thin, which in this case, a spade flush, kind of thin. I don't know if this actually goes to a showdown. I think this person just folds. So it's good to do that because saving $1.30 on a bad call is just as good as making $1.30 in the long run. So here, no boards, probably no action. We're going to pause it and see if we end up getting something. At about the 13:50 or 13:30 mark on the video. So I'll try to get just a few more hands and then wrap it up here. Thanks for making it this far at least. This is the first episode in this series. I'm sure over time it'll get a lot more informational. We'll build up my bankroll up to a limit where I'm playing $100 tables. I would like to potentially end up playing $400 tables if it gets there. But again, just playing one table while multitasking on stuff that generally builds towards your career and skills in general, it's a nice, easy thing to do compared to playing poker professionally where it's easy to really let the game frustrate you, especially if you overextend your limits and have too much of your bankroll invested at once. Those were tough times. It's a lot easier now just playing in the spare time and seeing where things go. So anyways, cut it here and we'll be back with the next hand. All right, here I get a suited ace. Lots of connectors. 3 hearts though, so if hearts end up on the flop, I'm holding one of my own outs, which doesn't make the flush draw that good, especially in big blind with 2 people behind me. It's still a good enough hand that since the button didn't raise, I want to try to build a pot here. So we'll go with the standard 3x raise. I haven't seen a lot of re-raises as far as the flop goes at this table. So even though I'm in early position, I'm still okay putting in that small bet just to build up a pot. And I've been doing this quite frequently at this table, which makes it hard to put me on a hand, kind of opens up my range. I've been doing it with medium connectors, double pocket pairs, suited aces, just kind of a wide variety just to be a little loose and aggressive at the same time. So because of that, it's hard to put me on a hand here. And for that same reason, I do fire out the bet here on this board pair 9, because you'd think someone would bet 2 pairs, someone might even semi-bluff a flush draw. And because of that, I don't think these people are very interested in the hand or have anything that they really want to draw to. So I fire out the pure bluff here, just based on the fact I've been varying my play a lot in middle position. And the bluff does work to take down a $1 pot, which, again, not huge money we're talking about. It's only $1. But if this was a $100 table, that's $10, and that adds up over time. And it makes you more flexible in how you play and leaves you more open to get paid off in the future should you actually get the hand and someone is just getting tired of being bullied by. Alright, so the last hand I'm going to show you is we get a suited ace on the button, a couple connectors. The 5 doesn't give any kind of value unless we flop trip 5s or 10-10-5, and someone might pay us off like 10 queen, 10 king, even 10 ace. We don't get that flop here. We do get the gut shot, and we're still on position, heads up. Seems like a good spot to potentially fire out a triple barrel bluff and see if we can get him to fold off a hand. The majority of the time, this kind of continuation bet will work, and you'll profit in the long run. The queen gives us some additional value in that it gives us kings as outs. He might have backdoored a spade draw since we're not heavy in spades, but we still right now he might be on 9s, he might be on a weak straight draw. So we're going to fire out the second barrel. Hope it works. Again, this is a situation where the majority of the time we bluff here. We have to assume 80% we're going to win it. The 4 doesn't give much value. It does hit 4, 5, 6, which is a really bad straight draw to call on that turn. So I don't think it gives much. So we do fire out the third barrel. He ends up re-raising us all in, which is a weird betting line. If he did have the 4, 5, 6, it doesn't seem like a very good way to get paid off. Since, I don't know. I mean, most of the time you may just check the river if you have 2 pair. I even call it out strange betting lines. I mean, maybe if you do have a set there, you might play it like that. Part of me thinks it might have been a busted straight draw bluff, in which case it was kind of a decent bluff by him. Very risky. In this hand, again, another suited ace connected. I do call for a raise against the small stack. I don't think checking probably was the best play there because I might have lost some value. Since I did that, I checked the second street, which is relatively safe, to try to get some kind of money back here. And I do get an extra 30 cents out of them. It would have been nice to get this call here since I do have the redraws. But it's a very draw-heavy board, so even in that case, it could still go either way. But at least by having him all in, I'm not going to get bluffed on the river. So it will at least let me see a showdown. So even though I'm back to 1076 here, I'm still up 76 on the session. Still thinking with a clear head and being patient. And eventually, I do end up making the money back and closing out of the session up $10. Which is basically a whole buy-in. And over time, that adds up. So after a week of kind of just playing for an hour or two while doing other stuff, that's $70, which is pretty decent money. And after a month, $70 times 4, you're looking at $280, which is almost enough to just go up limits and play the $20 tables. And over time, just analyzing your play, being smart, not overextending yourself, it will just get you to a point where you can start playing for some real money if you want to, or just have a good time. So we're at the 20-minute mark. Thanks for watching. Hopefully these videos will get smoother over time. You guys can tell me what feedback you did or didn't like. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.